Hi, I'm Ginny Just.
And I'm Beth Soboloff, and we're
Two Grannies on the Road. Welcome back to Two Grannies on the Road. We've had a very busy month traveling to New York City for the Believe, Inspire, Grow.com Member Awards ceremony, where we were one of the top 3 nominees for the Better Together Award.
Then we went to Providence, Rhode Island, where we were asked to do a presentation at the Social Enterprise Greenhouse Aging 2.0 pitch contest for startup businesses that serve the aging population.
Speaking of being on the road, today we would like to welcome ScottOtis, owner of Atlantic Carpet Cleaners in Sandwich, Massachusetts. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you. Good, nice to be here.
Scott, first of all, I'd like to ask you, how long have you owned your company? And tell me something you've done differently over the past 3 years.
Well, I started my business in 2008, and it was slow going, getting started. I found out that the winters are very slow for carpet cleaners in New England. And after a couple of years, I built up the business enough so that I could travel in the winter. So that's for the last 4 years, I've been traveling in the winter in a small travel trailer.
Awesome.
Was this a dream you had for a while, taking the winters off and traveling around the United States?
Well, my dream is to take the whole year off. But so far, I've only been able to do the winters. So it's just something that kind of came to me, actually.
So tell us a little bit about how you travel. You mentioned a travel trailer. What is that like? What kind of a trailer do you have? Okay. And also tell us, what was your itinerary over this past year?
Right. Well, I've got a small fiberglass travel trailer. It's 16 feet, and it has a bed in the back, and on the side I've got a couple of captain's chairs and a little table. And across from that I've got a galley with a sink and a 2-burner stove and a refrigerator and a microwave. And in the front of the trailer I have a full wet bath with a toilet, sink, and a shower. And it's perfect because you can tow it with just about any car. I have a Ford Explorer, and it tows it no problem.
So I could use my Prius with it?
No.
Yes, you could. Haven't you seen the ads?
The trailer's not quite. It's a little over 2,000 pounds, fully loaded. So I don't think the Prius would tow that much. You'd have to step up a little bit to tow that. But as far as my itinerary went, I left the Cape on Halloween, and I went south. I went through. I stopped in Virginia. I have a son in Virginia. I stopped and visited him in Charlottesville, and so I spent a couple of days there, and then I went to visit a friend in Raleigh, outside of Raleigh, North Carolina. And then from there, I went to Myrtle Beach, to the Outer Banks. And I spent a couple of days camping and exploring the Outer Banks. I left the Outer Banks. I took the ferries. There's 2 ferries that you take to go south with the trailer. Just drive right on. And from there, I went to Venice, Florida, Venice, Florida.
Oh, isn't that beautiful there?
Yeah, it's pretty down there. I've got a friend down there, and she needed some help getting some surgery, so I said, sure, I've got time. And from there, I went north. From there, I went just north of Tarpon Springs, Florida. And I camped, found a nice little park that was on the water, and I spent about a week there. And then I went across Florida to the Space Coast. I camped at Manatee Hammock Park, and that's opposite Cape Canaveral. You can see the launches. You can see all the satellite launches they have, and you used to be able to see when they launched the space shuttle. You could see the shuttle from there also. From there, I went south to West Palm campground in Lake Worth, and I was there for a week or so, visiting another friend. And then from there, I crossed over to Bonita Springs. And I spent the winter in Bonita Springs in an RV park.
Is that in Florida?
It's in Florida. It's just outside of Naples.
Oh, okay.
So it's about as far south as I can afford to go, and it's warm for the most part.
And then after Florida, then you went on to go further.
Well, after Florida, I went to meet my son in Las Vegas. I have three boys, and one of them, Scott, is in San Francisco, and he flew into Vegas, and I drove out to Vegas with the trailer, and I met him out in Vegas. And on the way out to Vegas, I came up through the Panhandle, and it's really beautiful. I'd never been up through the Panhandle in Florida before, and so I saw some really, pretty coastline. A couple state parks I stayed in on the way out through Florida, and then I went from Florida through Louisiana, Mississippi, maybe not in that order, to Texas. The trailer I have was actually made in Texas, and I need to get some repairs done to it. So I spent a couple of days in a Corps of Engineer park, which is a very inexpensive campground, and I think it's $14 a night, and that includes your electric and your water, which is a great deal for a camper. And they have showers in the bathroom, and I was there for a couple of days, and then from there I went down through New Mexico. I went to Rockhound State Park, which is a really pretty spot. It's almost on the border with Mexico, and I stayed there overnight. For 2 nights I stayed there, and then I drove up through New Mexico into Arizona, and I stayed in Cottonwood, Arizona. I was there for a few days, and while I was there, I took a day trip up into Sedona, which is beautiful. The Red Rocks are really spectacular, and I went on one of those Jeep tours.
What's that?
A Jeep tour. They have company pink Jeeps. There's a few of them, pink Jeeps. They stand out, and it's great marketing.
Yeah.
And but they take you right to the base of the rocks, and you go for a tour, and you saw the ruins. It was ruins, Indian ruins, and from thousands of years ago, and it was really cool. And there were petroglyphs, and there was also some other artifacts and things that you could see. And so I spent the day in Sedona doing that, and then I went back to Cottonwood. From Cottonwood, I went up to Las Vegas, and I camped.
This was for the second time?
No, this is the first time.
Oh, okay.
So I camped in Vegas at Sam's Town. They have a KOA campground at Sam's Town, which is right on the outskirts. It's in Vegas. It's not on the Strip, but you can get to the Strip from there easy enough. And there's a casino on the property if that's what you want to do. But it's a good place to camp in Vegas. And from there, Scott came in. We went from Vegas. We went out north of Vegas to Valley of Fire State Park, which is about an hour outside of Vegas.
Isn't that gorgeous?
It's amazing. Have you been there?
Yes, it takes your breath away. The air is so clear you can almost hear it crackle.
Oh, it is. It's a beautiful spot. And if you're ever in Vegas and you have some time to kill after you lose all your money, take a ride out there, and it's a beautiful park. And so we camped. They didn't have any sites in the campground, but there was camps on the lake about 20 minutes outside of it. So we spent the night there. And then we went back the next day. We were going to go north into Utah, up to Bryce. Well, not up to Bryce, up to Zion, and then to Bryce. But the weather forecast was for cold, in the 20s at night.
Did you have trouble with any of the parks getting in during the wintertime?
No, not at all.
Because I've heard that can happen.
Well, it depends, where you go and if there's weather. So we didn't run into any snow or anything. We were going to go north, and the forecast was for snow, so we went back to Vegas, overnighted in Vegas, went to another buffet because we had to make sure we were well fed before we left. And then we went south of Vegas, southeast. We went through Kingman, Arizona, and we took Route 66. Out to the Grand Canyon. Scott had never been to the Grand Canyon before. And so we went to the Grand Canyon, and then from there we went to Monument Valley, which is in the Navajo Nation. And that's where they filmed a lot of John Wayne movies. as we stayed at a campground, Goulding's, and they had actually an old cottage where John Wayne used to stay, and they preserved it. It's a museum. And,
wow.
and he was right at the base of the mountains, and he looked out, and all you could see were all those, just the wide open land with the monuments, the butts and everything
Wow.
coming out of the sand. It's just amazing. And we spent a few days there. We were able to go. You take a self-guided tour with your car, and you can go into the Monument Valley, and you can see all the monuments, and took a lot of pictures there. So you'll see a lot of my pictures were from Monument Valley. From there, we went to Page, Arizona, and the reason we kind of backtracked, and if there was a map, it's about 100 miles away. But when I was out there 3 years ago, I went to Page, Arizona, and I saw Horseshoe Canyon, which is beautiful. And I saw, this is great. And then when I got home, I was setting up my Chromebook and the screensaver, and this picture came on of the Antelope Canyon in Page, Arizona, which was spectacular. And I'd never seen it. I missed it altogether. So I said, well, I got to go back.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. We detoured for a couple of days. We went back, and then we came back through the valley. We went up to Moab. In Moab, we went to Arches National Park, and we spent a few days in Moab. Moab's a really nice spot. There's a lot of good restaurants, and it's just a fun place to hang out. We just missed Jeep Week. Jeep Week is a huge event out there in early March, and they get literally thousands of people in Jeeps. We went also to, we chartered a small plane, and they flew us over Canyonlands National Park.
Wow.
And Canyonlands is one of the darkest places in the United States. If you want to see the stars, if you're out there, you go to Canyonlands, because there's no other light around to disturb it.
Are you taking notes?
Nice. I was just thinking, I wish I had my pen, because we need to.
We're going to run this over and over and over again.
Well,
You realize that?
we can talk when you're ready to go, but
Yeah.
you think you see stars back here, but
Yeah.
you don't, because you have all
Yeah.
the light pollution.
Right.
And when you get out west in Canyonlands, they said that was one of the last developed areas, the national parks that they did, and it's just spectacular. From there, we went to Capitol Reef National Park. And
Where's that?
that's in Utah. The last parks we did, they call it the Mighty Five. There's Arches, Canyonland, Capitol Reef, Bryce, and Zion. They call it the Mighty Five. And it's on a lot of people's bucket list. It's an amazing place to travel.
I think it's on ours now.
Yep.
If you're going to go out west, you have to go.
Yeah.
The Capitol Reef, we weren't expecting much from it because it's a smaller park, but it was absolutely gorgeous. It was breathtaking. And the winter is a good time to travel because it's not as crowded as in the summer. But on the downside is you can only go to so many parks. You can't go like the Yellowstone or.
Are some of them
Glacier.
literally closed?
Well, yes, some of them were closed, and some of them were just too cold. And I leave to stay warm, not to get
Right.
cold.
Yeah.
But the Capitol Reef was absolutely gorgeous. And then we took a ride down Scenic Route 12 in Utah. And Scenic Route 12 in Utah is spectacular. There's no other way to describe it. It's only about 100 miles from the one park to the next campground we stayed at. And it took us all day because there were so many turnoffs. It was impossible not to stop and get out and take pictures.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you were out in the middle of the ocean, you just turn around and look 360, all you would see is ocean. When you're out there and you turn around, all you see are these spectacular vistas with all these multicolored rocks, and then there's peaks, and there's snow, and it's just, the colors are amazing.
Yeah.
How many pictures do you think you took?
I took over 400 pictures
Wow.
from the trip. Yeah.
Did you mostly cook out of the camper, or did you go to
No,
restaurants and
no,
stuff
we,
too?
we ate out a lot.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you find any particularly interesting restaurants?
Pasta J's in Moab, you ate in a tent. So they had a tent out in the parking lot. There was a place in outside of Zion, which was really nice. It was Tex-Mex. And Zion is kind of like the whole downtown area. It's kind of like in a canyon. The walls are behind you. You can see the cliffs behind. And you're sitting outside there. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
Did you find a lot of diners?
There's not as many diners as you might think. We went to a place on Route 66 that was really fun.
Yeah, somebody told us recently that there's a whole bunch of diners all in one area on Route 66. Is that
There
so?
probably are.
Oh.
I found one or two of them. I didn't travel the whole route because it was
Yeah.
That's right.
from Chicago out to Arizona.
Yeah.
But the one we found had an Italian name, and it was really very interesting, and it was a lot of fun. I might have pictures of it. But they had a car all decorated with a big white Christmas tree, and in the back, and it was like an antique car. And they would take the people out for a ride in it, and they sold ice cream and burgers, and it was a shack. It was all
Ice cream burgers.
decorated, and they had an outhouse in the back, and
Oh my gosh.
it was pretty cool, and the help was a lot of fun too. Yeah, but we also we went to Bryce, which is totally different. Bryce has the hoodoos. It looks kind of like stalactites, but instead of coming down, they go up.
Yeah.
And the colors and everything there is just crazy. And then we went to Zion from there, and Zion was probably my favorite park.
Really?
Yeah, it was just so many different vistas and so many different types of views, and it's a lot more lush with green vegetation and everything. It was absolutely beautiful. It was a nice trip.
Didn't you have a little four-legged person traveling with you?
My dog Roxy travels everywhere with me. She loves to travel. She was happy when Scott left because he sat in her seat up front,
Oh, can't have that. She's been preempted.
We did most of our meals. We did mostly breakfast and lunch. We'd go out. We'd go out for dinner most nights. We didn't really cook. Just didn't really do it.
Okay.
No.
So the total time that you were gone was what? About
5.5 months.
5.5. Oh, that would really be nice.
Still my beating heart.
So you've told us about a lot of the, you had a lot of adventures, obviously. What was your favorite part of the trip? You mentioned you loved Zion Park. What else was your favorite?
I mean, my oldest son, I don't get to see him too often. He's out in California. We spent 3 weeks traveling out through Utah and Arizona, just spending time with Scott was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I bet.
As far as the nicest thing about our trip was that we decided that we would see what we could see. We were going to be casual. We decided not to. It was like a Disney style trip where you have an itinerary and you want to get everything in.
If it's Tuesday, it must be Belgium.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
we just decided that we would just wing it, and if we felt like hanging out at the campground and sleeping in or hanging in, we would do that. And if we wanted to go out and do some hiking and stuff, we would do that. But it's just the freedom, to have to do what you want when you want.
How did you
It's really nice.
How did you figure out where you were going to go? Did you do a lot of research on the internet, or did you talk to people along the way who said, "Oh, you have to go here, you have to go there"?
Well, the only thing I really wanted to go see the parks in Utah. That was the whole plan. I wanted to spend more time in Utah than we actually did.
That was this year.
That was this year, but because of the weather, we ended up going to the Grand Canyon and up through the other way. So.
So you got to be flexible.
You got to be flexible when you travel, depending on your weather and things like that.
But did you do research
yeah,
to try to figure out the best places to go? Or so you said you were.
Well, the internet's amazing. You can find everything you want about the parks, and all the national parks have great websites, and they have like a list of all hikes and everything. There's a girl on Facebook. I can't think of her page right now. She has a Facebook page, but she was a ranger out in one of the parks out west. And so she has tips on all the hikes and everything that you can do, and there's a lot of resources to plan and to check on that. And then it's depending on the season, the parks, some of them are not fully open, or but you always get a little newspaper when you go in, and it gives you a list of all the hikes that you can do, and the things, and then the rules and regulations.
Was it expensive to stay in the parks?
The parks, well, if you're over 62, they have what's called.
She's way over 62. Oh, sorry.
They have what's called affectionately known as a geezer pass.
Oh, great.
And I believe it's $10, and it's good. It's good until you pass away.
Wow.
So you still have to pay for your campgrounds if you choose to do a campground in the park, but they're pretty reasonable. Private campgrounds outside the park are more expensive, but you get electric, you get water, you get sewer. Because I'm still running my business from the road, I stayed in private campgrounds because I needed to keep my phone charged. I didn't have electric for that. And
Do they have
I needed
Wi-Fi?
to be in a place where I get a cell signal too. Because most of the parks you get into them, and well, they don't have towers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thank heaven.
That's right. So you can't get a signal if you're camping in one of the parks.
So when you didn't want to hear from your business, you went to a park.
Well, what I did is I got out into to Zion, and I was having trouble getting reception, so I just closed for a week.
There you go. Easy come,
Sorry,
easy
I'm
go.
sick this week. I can't.
We're on vacay.
We're on vacation.
Clean
and,
your carpets later.
people were able to.
Don't spill anything this week.
Has all of this trip changed your perspective on life?
But it's interesting. When I started my business in '08, I had a heart attack in June of '08.
Oh.
So it's been almost 8 years now since I had my heart attack. And that changed my perspective on life. And I realized that, given the opportunity, I would do the things I wanted to do now rather than wait. Because you don't know what your future holds. There's no guarantees on that. And in the beginning of the business, I had pretty high goals, and I never knew if I would achieve them or not. And I was fortunate that I have. But I found out that you can't really do a lot of business in the winter, so what can you do? So I have a full-time employee, and he takes care of some of the jobs on the way. But the first winter I went away, I wanted to go to Florida because it was warm and everybody was in Florida.
Yeah.
And when I looked at the cost of a condo down there, I rent a condo for a month or two. I bought the camper for less than what I could have rented a condo for. It's a 90. The camper's a 95. It's in
Vintage.
It's in good shape.
Yeah.
But when I started traveling, that's when my perspective on life really changed, because you see people in all different shapes, in all different conditions, and you realize that you only have so much time in life to enjoy it and to do what you want to do. And so I made changes to my health. I made changes to my whole outlook on life changed. And
Wow.
I decided that as far as I want to travel as far around the country as much as I can, and see as much of the country as I can. And I really enjoy you meet a lot of people along the way, and that's one of the best parts is, the people that you meet and you talk to. I ran into a woman who I believe probably had a few years on you young ladies, and she had a truck camper, which is
Wow.
a camper in the back of a pickup truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I met her a couple of years ago in Parker, Arizona, at a laundromat. 'Cause that's where you clean your clothes when you're on the road.
That's right.
And she made me a cup of coffee, and we were chatting away. And she grew up on Chestnut Hill, and her family used to go to
Oh my gosh.
Connecticut for the summers. And she lives full time on the road, traveling in her
Wow.
pickup, in her camper truck.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Were there challenges that you faced along the way that you had to overcome to even make the trip happen?
Well, there's whenever you have a trip like this, when you have a camper, there's always things that happen to it. You know, my camper, the gaskets in the windows, I had to have them replaced. On the way down to Florida, on the beginning of the trip, on the Outer Banks, I ran into a lot of rain. And so the rain was coming in and it got the mattress wet. So, you know, that's one of the reasons I stopped in Texas. I had them replace the gaskets. The air conditioner died just before we left Florida, which was fine because they don't need it out west. So like little mechanical things and stuff like that. I mean, you know, and then you need to budget your money because I still have bills to pay back here. And then Florida is very expensive. Well, actually, it's more expensive to stay on the Cape in the winter than it is to go to Florida.
I bet.
It is.
Yeah.
Did you stay in any Walmart parking lots?
I did. I overnighted in a couple of Walnut parking lots. I recommend Cracker Barrel because you get a better breakfast.
Oh.
You can overnight in Cracker Barrel parking lots.
Oh, that's neat.
Cabela's is another one. It's a sporting goods store. You can overnight in those. You can overnight in small churches, as long as it's not a Saturday night, because they're up early Sunday morning.
Yeah. A lot of them have church services on Saturday afternoons and nights. Yeah.
That's right. So, but there's a lot of different. And then you can. I mean, if you want, a few years ago when I went out west, the first time I went out west, I spent a month in California and I stayed at all the public campgrounds, and they were all $50 a night or so. And then the next month I went to Arizona, and I spent the whole month in January in Arizona a few years ago. I spent $150 to camp. And because you get out there, and they have all government land, you can camp on for free. It's a Bureau of Land Management land. They have campsites outside of Lake Havasu on each side. They have campsites in Quartzsite. There's National Forest land. You can camp National Forest land. You just drive in and you'll see a campsite. You know, they got a fire pit, and you can pull in and you can stay there, and it's pretty interesting.
Okay.
That's great.
Scott, we could ask you about these travels forever, but we've come to the end of the line today, and thanks so much for sharing our adventures with us.
If you know someone who's a baby boomer who have retreaded, we would love to tell their story. You can contact us through our website, TwoGranniesOnTheRoad.com.
What are your goals and dreams? We want to encourage you to think outside the box.
Step outside your comfort zone and take action to achieve those dreams.
Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to watch for the next episode of
Two Grannies on the Road.